Steamrail Whanganui is a railway preservation group in the River City. The group formed in 1989, and they have a small collection of rolling stock at the old Taupo Quay yard. In early 2026, they had open days on both the Saturday and Sunday of Whanganui Vintage Weekend. Perhaps the most significant vehicle on site was a steam locomotive by the name of Skunk. Skunk was built in 1875 by E.W. Mills of Wellington as one in a trio of little 040 tank engines. The other two were named Wallaby and Opossum. Skunk and Wallaby initially ran on the line from Palmerston North to Foxton, but they were soon rendered obsolete by the more powerful F-class 060 saddle tanks, which were introduced to the Foxton line from July 1876. Wallaby were to be sold into industrial service on the Sanson tramway and eventually scrapped in 1897, while Skunk was used on construction trains after the F-class arrived. In 1882, she was sold into industry and left for the South Island's west coast, where she worked for 25 years before returning to the North Island. For at least a decade after 1907, Skunk was used by the Whanganui Harbour Board to help with the construction of the South Mole. Once the project was done, the WHB tried to sell the engine but couldn't find a buyer, so she was left on a short section of track near the South Mole and forgotten about. Over time, the engine was buried under moving sand dunes, but famously rediscovered in September 2025 by a construction crew who were working on rebuilding the South Mole. One of Skunk's sister locomotives still exists too. This is Opossum, and she is a static exhibit at Shantytown, near Greymouth in the South Island, having been cosmetically restored between 2009 and 2012. As for whether or not Skunk will ever be restored, I'd be amazed if Steamrail Whanganui could pull it off. Considering just how long this locomotive was buried in the sand, I was surprised by how many components were still intact. If you'd like to learn more about Skunk's history, I'll leave a link to Steamrail Whanganui's website in the description. Elsewhere in the yard, you could find a trio of four-wheel shunter locomotives and a set of petrol jiggers, although the jiggers were not running on this occasion. Incidentally, all three of the locomotives were built by A&G Price of Thames, but not all in the same year. The smallest of the trio is number 149, built in 1944 and originally used by the Royal New Zealand Air Force, then the New Zealand Army later in life. According to Steamrail's website, 149 is on long-term loan from the National Army Museum in Waiouru. Incidentally, one of 149's sister locomotives, number 151, is based at the Goldfields Railway in Waihi, and for the longest time, I didn't realise that 151 was essentially the same design as 149. Coupled in front of 149 was TR-465, a locomotive built for New Zealand Railways in 1964, but originally numbered as TR-113. She remained in service right up until 2004, then sat in storage before being saved for preservation in 2010. She's now owned by Blair Jordan, a member, or to be more accurate, the president, of SRW, who's gradually working on restoring her to running condition. As an aside, TR-465 is not to be confused with the Class 465, an electric multiple unit in England. Lastly, here is Price number 212, but unlike the two aforementioned shunters, this one is not a diesel locomotive, or rather, she's not a diesel anymore. She was built in 1964 and spent her entire working life at the Imlay Freezing Works, not far down the line from Taupo Quay. Initially fitted with a Gardner 6LW diesel engine, she was later converted to run on compressed natural gas, of all things. Steamrail acquired the locomotive in 2002, and they say on their website that they will convert her to run on liquefied petroleum gas instead of CNG. One of SRW's crew allowed me to have a look in 212's cab. I didn't think to ask for the bloke's name, but regardless, I thank him for letting me in the cab. It's provided a unique vantage point for capturing DA1410 and AB608 when they headed off to Martin. It wasn't long before 149 and the other locomotives shunted back into the workshop for the night. There were multiple attempts at starting 149's engine, but they got her going in the end, albeit with an awful stink from the exhaust. This concludes my look at Steamrail Whanganui in January 2026. I have known about the group for many years, but this was the first time I've been able to make a video about them. Feel free to have a butchers at their website for more details about the fleet and upcoming events. The depot is worth a visit if you're ever in Whanganui at the right time, with the headliners perhaps being Skunk, Chi, and the two golden retrievers.